Has the travel ban left you or your loved ones stranded in the UK? Have you managed to find a way home? Are you cancelling your trip home as a result? I want to hear from you. Do get in touch with us, please. 53106 on text and 1890 453 106. And somebody who did just that is Rachael. Rachael, you're in Dublin. Did you get caught up in the bedlam at Heathrow? What happened to you?
We did. So we had initially had a flight booked for Tuesday morning. We were intended to fly. And we were ploughing on ahead with the plans when the Tier 4 restrictions were announced in London on Saturday. But on Sunday, when RT started to report that there was talks of a travel ban coming between Ireland and the UK, we decided to start looking at flights. We had initially considered going towards Belfast and then coming down. And then we had a friend in London who said, look, I'm getting on this British Airways flight. It's flying tonight. Do you want to come? And we were like, yeah, do you know what? We'll do that. So booked a flight for British Airways through Aer Lingus, and that was due to take off at 5 to 9. Booked that at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and then headed to Heathrow. We weren't able to check in online, so we kind of smelled a rat. And when we arrived at Heathrow at the Aer Lingus terminal, Aer Lingus told us that the flight had been overbooked by British Airways and that we needed to kind of stand aside. So we were then directed to British Airways, which were in Terminal 5 of Heathrow, and there was about 50 of us at that point. This was at about 6:30, 7 yesterday evening. They told us that the flight was overbooked, there was no way we were getting on this plane, and that they would be putting us up in a hotel, and that there would then be a connecting flight to an unknown destination that would be able to fly into Dublin, which was reassuring. This unknown destination, as more countries were banning travel from the UK. What happened then was we joined a queue, and at about half an hour later, there was maybe 200 odd Irish people in this queue to be put up in a hotel. A few people, I think, actually did leave, either to get to a hotel or just cut their losses, but we stuck around to see what would happen. And then at about 8:30, it was announced that British Airways were trying to put on a flight. This would have to be liaised with the Irish government to get clearance to land in Dublin. But it was
That was this extra
experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. That was this
I've
extra
ever
flight that they put on at the last minute, arrived in when the ban was supposed to be enforced, just after midnight, and you managed to get on that because of this overbooking fiasco. Tell me, I mean, apart from anything else, what was it like at Heathrow Airport? I mean, in terms of the crowds, and we've seen videos coming across from St Pancras train station, also from some of the airports. It looked crammed. It just didn't look terribly safe, Rachael.
No, it didn't feel terribly safe, I'm not going to lie. But we got a taxi over just to kind of avoid public transport, and the taxi driver had said to us, this is actually a lot quieter than it was earlier, so you should be fine going through Heathrow. You had to queue to get into Heathrow Airport, which was strange in itself, before you even got to a check-in desk. Once we got into the actual building, there was a queue of 100 odd people, maybe more, in the check-in desk for Aer Lingus, and there were murmurs in the crowd of, if you've booked with British Airways, you're not getting checked in, which was just causing panic in the overall check-in area. So, you know, mingling with all sorts of different flights, it was really quite stressful at that point. But it was just kind of key to get information and then put yourself aside if you could. So we were three travelling together, which meant, you know, two of us stood aside and one of us went off to try and find information.
Sure. And
it was pandemonium.